evening all. Hi all. I wonder if you can hear me on the where's my chat? Hi all. Is the volume okay? I thought we'd look at Paul Keres today, the Crown Prince of Chess, as he is sometimes known. So unfortunately, we had World War II at some point, and he couldn't challenge Alexander Alekhine for the World Championship title. World War II did unfortunately disrupt a lot of chess. So why was Paul Keres so special in the history of the game? One of the reasons is he defeated lots of world champions. I thought we could have a look at some of those wins today. So this first game, let's look at his game encounter versus Charles Capablanca. Is the stream okay so far? On just checking, is the volume okay? Stream okay? Just check before we go on. Okay. Right. Okay. So against Capablanca, let's have a look at this game. So 1938. This is in the Netherlands. This game tournament in the Netherlands. So E4, and Capablanca replied with E6, French defense. Okay, so D4, D5, and Keres chose Knight D2, the Tarrasch. We have C5. So C5 is very active. Black doesn't mind sometimes getting the isolated queen's pawn. He's trying to activate his pieces, especially the bishops. And okay, maybe in exchange for the isolated queen's pawn, Black usually blasts down two files. So how active is Black going to be in this game? White takes on D5 and then plays Knight G-F3. Okay, of course, Korchnoi against Karpov featured this a lot in later years in World Championship matches. Okay, so Knight C6 and the Knight's pinned with Bishop B5. Queen E7 check from Capablanca, and actually this is a bit annoying to say the least. I think if Knight E5, then maybe Black has C takes. So say Knight E5, I think C takes. I'm not engine checking this, maybe some of you with engines can check that, but this is really annoying, this position. So actually the bishop's forced to go back, but it's done a job. The queen's not ideally placed, it's blocking in that bishop, isn't it? C takes D4, so White wants to ideally round off that pawn after castling and play on the isolated queen's pawn. Castles, and Queen C7 unblocking the bishop. Knight B3, he's going to win his pawn back, and we reach a standard looking position. But Knight B5 is immediately threatened to nick that bishop, so Black needs to do something about that. He plays A6. Okay, there's a dark square strategy plan to get a grip, increase the grip on the dark squares here. So how can White do that? Often we would see, maybe we'd see this to get rid of the dark square bishop, but actually we see B3 here, so the bishop's going on this diagonal, which could be very interesting as well. Knight G E7, Bishop B2. Now after Black castled, Keres, Paul chose Knight takes C6, allowing Black to get rid of the isolated queen's pawn, strengthen the centre. Okay, it strengthens D5, but maybe White can play on C5. This diagonal looks a bit scary for this bishop. And C4, as though the isolated queen's pawn is going to reappear now. If Black dared to take there, he's damaging his structure again. Bishop E6. Now Queen C2. Okay, as though maybe C5 is on the cards. Where would the bishop go? It's got F4, I guess. Also, Bishop D3 might provoke a weakness like G6, which would be fatal potentially on that diagonal. Black played D takes C4. Okay. Bishop takes c4. Okay, Kappa has got fractured pawns, and there's play potentially on this c6 pawn. Black took on c4, queen takes c4. Rook fb8. Is there counterplay? Is this rook b4 of any significance? Can a rook swing across or something? Can this pawn be dissolved? h3 is played. Actually, we see rook b5. Okay. Rook ac1. So how is this guy going to be protected? At the moment it's protected by these two. But Kappa plays rook c8. Now rook fd1. So white looks to have a very pleasant position here. I don't know what you guys think, but this looks really good. The structure is more solid, the pawn structure. And there's pressure on these diagonals at the moment. Knight g6. Knight d4. Okay, immediately threatening these two. It goes back. And now the tactical flair of Paul Keres is shown here. There's a very surprising move played in this position. Now, please, if you're on Play Chess, change the tab away from the move score so we can play these guess the next move things. So try and hide the move score by clicking, say, the openings book tab or something else, not the main game score. Okay, so if I give everyone 20 seconds here to guess what white plays, can you guess it? So 20 seconds starting from now. Anyone? Anyone guess the next move? No one? Okay, I'll show you it then. Okay. Knight e6. So this puts more pressure on d6. If it takes, you know, there'll be check, getting that bishop on d6. Knight e6. So we're actually forking queen and pawn. This looks dangerous for black in this position. Okay, queen b8 is played. Now, you know, isn't there a knight takes g7? That looks pretty strong, but actually knight g5 is played, so f7 is targeted now. Rook b7. And now queen g4 is played with, you know, menacing threats. He's on the rook, but there's also queen h5 is going to be difficult to parry. Bishop f4. Rook c4. And okay, there's a lot of pressure here. Rook b5. And now knight takes f7, tearing apart black's king safety here. What happens if king takes? Stuff like rook d7 is going to be really dangerous. Maybe taking on g7 or mating with a queen e6 again. So rook e8 was played, and now g3, which gives g2 for the king if needed, as well as kicking the bishop. Queen c8, wanting the exchange of queens. Rook takes f4. Now if the knight takes, then there's queen takes. Queen takes g4, rook takes g4, king takes. So what has white got out of this? He's a pawn up. He plays check, and he goes into this ending. Very nice ending. 2 pawns up now. Bit desperate for black. 2 pawns up, and even Kappa can't save this ending. He's 2 pawns down for not much. Rook c4, getting the rooks off unless he wants to lose c6. After king d6, f4, black resigned. Let's just rewind there. So black resigned here. So this is his win against Capablanca in 1938. But let's have a quick look. What on earth happened here again? Okay, so after this knight e6, we saw queen b8. Now the first question which comes to mind, wasn't there knight takes g7? it looks as though knight takes g7 might have been a good move. Can anyone refute that? Anyone? What would be wrong with knight takes g7? I wonder. I wonder possibly, you know, knight e5 would hit the queen and block this diagonal. If there was some concern about that. Oh, sorry, VIP Master Bishop e5. Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's a good one actually. Yes, hitting the bishop. No, even that's very powerful. Yes. So if the knight moves, you take here, and if you take here, then the knight's stranded. Very clever, stranded knight. Very good. Bishop e5, of course. That explains that one. So knight g5 puts the pressure back on black on f7. It was defended, and then we saw queen g4. So basically, there's a lot of pressure here. This knight is on soft spots. This bishop's on the soft spot, and this queen's cutting across the diagonal. The rook is ready also for rook takes d6 as an immediate threat, isn't it? Queen takes c8. So rook takes d6 was the immediate threat in this position, which is probably why black played bishop f4. Then we saw rook c4, putting pressure on there. After rook b5, we saw knight takes f7. Right, so in this position, if the king had taken, let's just make sure about this one. Check, and it's horrible, isn't it? It's just slaughter time, isn't it? Queen e6. That looks like slaughter. If knight e5, queen e7, queen g7. No defense here, is there? Okay, so that explains that a little bit, I hope. So we get this ending where, okay, after g3, if black had moved the bishop back, well, it looks terrible. This position. Anything, rook d7 looks crushing. It looks absolutely crushing. Okay. So let's go. So after rook takes f4, and in this sequence, white ended up 2 pawns up, and that was too much. Okay, let's look at another game now. In 1937, Keres got to play Alexander Alekhine, another established world champion. So the game against Alexander was very interesting. This is in Margate. Okay, 1937. So e4, e5, and we saw knight f3, knight c6, Leroy Lopez, and now we saw d6. Okay, stabilizing the center, and white plays c4, getting a sort of Maroczy bind on d5. Bishop d7, and now knight c3. After g6, we get a kind of King's Indian looking position after d4, with this bishop here instead of here. Almost like a bit of a King's Indian going on. After bishop e3, knight f6, and now actually a very annoying d takes e5. It keeps a small advantage, I think, for white this move, or even a significant advantage. Because after d takes, okay, bishop c5 cuts off the king from castling. Now, why didn't Alexander want to play knight takes e5? Does anyone know? What's wrong with knight takes e5 here? Probably just knight takes e5 again and bishop c5, same thing, king cut across. This Fianchetto wasted a bit of time, didn't it? So let's go back to the game continuation. After takes, we have bishop c5 anyway. Knight h5. So black's actually in trouble, it seems, from some wrong idea in this opening. Knight d5 puts pressure on c7. Knight f4, trying to get rid of this guy, maybe. And also hitting g2, of course. Okay. And now instead of, say, casting, actually knight takes f4 was played. And now e5. Right. So black can't easily castle or do much here. Can't move his queen anywhere across this diagonal. So g5. Queen d5. And it looks here as though e6 might be useful. You know, if takes, then there's bishop takes c6. And also, you know, pressure on d7 maybe is coming up. Bishop f8. Oh, sorry, why not b6 here? There's a question on stream. I think, well, b6, bishop takes c6 is good. Okay, so bishop f8 was played. White took, rook takes, and now white castled. So a lot of pressure on d7. Queen e7, Alexander is trying to castle queenside. White takes on c6, takes, and now queen d3, hitting h7. That's ignored. Bishop d7, black just wants the castle. But instead of taking on h7, a more surprising move is played. Knight takes g5. Because if takes, then the queen takes d7. Black castled. Knight f3. So he's nicked a pawn and he's fractured the structure of black. So Alexander's in big trouble. Alexander Alekhine. f6. White takes. Rook takes. And now rook he1. And we've got, you'll notice, a lot of pressure down here. And oh dear. We have a big howler move here from Alexander Alekhine. I don't know how good rook e6 is or something, but what he played was a big howler. He played queen b4. Can you guess what white plays here? If I give you 20 seconds starting from now, white to play and win from this position. The next move is decisive. White to play and win. Okay, I think you've most of you spotted it. Queen takes d7 is the most forcing move in the position. Outrageous as it may seem, because it's going to be mating like this, isn't it? Queen takes d7, forcing move. You should really try and look. I've mentioned on the YouTube channel this thing like your virtual docking computer. If there's forcing moves in the position, you really need to examine those as high priority quite often, because they might win. They might win by force. And queen takes d7 kind of wins by force. Okay, so that was a disaster for Alexander. He maybe played a bit luxuriously with his fianchetto here, thinking he had time for a fianchetto with g6. It seems this idea really caught him out. His king was caught in the center. If you look at white's play, punishing that. Maybe he should have taken on d4 here, but no. So bishop e3 is nasty. This idea is pretty nasty. Maybe knight ge7 here is possible. Then if d5, you can just play knight b8 like a, you know, that doesn't seem like a bad idea. But he played knight f6 and he invited d takes e5. So his king was in trouble. Okay, knight f4, and now this was slightly surprising, taking for e5. it deprives. What does e5 do? You know, maybe, okay. Not really sure. Okay, it's depriving black of f6. It's blocking out the bishop from the diagonal. Okay, e5, and then it just got worse. The pressure got worse. He lost the pawn, and then he lost the game. He should have tried maybe rook e6. Although rook e6, to be fair, it's difficult, isn't it? Maybe he loses another pawn. He doesn't want to take here. We'll just, you know, maybe taking. And if he takes with the queen, he, well, actually he's on c4. That does seem better. Maybe knight g5 to take here. Knight g5. Okay, let's go on to another game. So after queen b4, queen d7. So another game. Let's have a look at another world champion biting the dust. So 1938. A year later, in the next year, he got to play Max Euwe from the Netherlands. So this is a Netherlands tournament, Noordwijk. So this is more positional, I think. Okay, so knight f3, Reti. So d5, c4, hypermodern, attacking the centre, and Max Euwe goes d4, and now we have e3. Very annoying, undermining black's centre, like a reverse Benoni or something. E takes, knight takes. Although black hasn't established an advanced pawn here. So can white liberate like the centre here? Knight takes, queen takes, knight c3. Okay, and now bishop g4 looks a bit unusual, this bishop g4. Check. And now d3, and it looks as though white might be interested in playing bishop e3. After knight f6 he does play bishop e3, queen d7, and he manages to push that pawn, gaining a bit of space, controlling these central squares with these two pawns down. Okay, e6, and now f3, as though, you know, maybe white's interested in casting queenside, and he does castle queenside. So maybe d5, you know, it's got the rook automatically x-raying the queen soon. Black plays bishop d6. Okay, then we see g4 and a space gain, h4. Right, so the bishop is threatened to be trapped. What does black do here? It plays h5. White continues gaining space with g5, squeezes on both sides of the board. Now c5, squeezing that bishop, and now breaking through in the centre with d5. It gets worse and worse and worse, this position. If black plays c takes, then there's bishop b5, pinning the queen. Okay, just imagine this disaster. If he plays ed, then I guess the same kind of idea, you know, rook takes d5. Or, even worse, maybe knight takes d5. Same idea. That looks unpalatable for black. So in this position, actually, black is a bit in trouble. He castles here. So d takes, okay, and it doesn't look so bad, does it? Queens come off, or is it rook d7, lasting pressure, defends the bishop, and now the very nasty bishop a6, threatening just to win this c6 pawn. It seems this bishop and knight are really cut out of the game here. Can't really help black. e5. Okay. Now rook c7. He's going to take with the rook, not with bishop b7. Maybe. No, he's going to take with the bishop, it seems, again. And he does take with the bishop. Knight e6. Attacking the rook instead of moving his own rook. So okay, white's a pawn up after all that. c6 is a big pawn up. How does he consolidate from here? Is it going to be hard? b3. Okay. Now he plays king b2 after fg, hg. Bishop f7 is played, and now rook d1. Okay, so it looks as though when this bishop moves somewhere usefully, then rook d7 is going to come in. Rook h4. Rook d2, for the moment defending against, say, a check, which might be handy. Rook h1, and now f4. If white is allowed f5, it's going to be a real squeeze. So, I don't know, bishop b4. But here, something else is going on. Some sort of thing is going on. Has he got all these attractive options or not? He plays f takes e5. Okay, bishop g6. Is this trying to generate some counterplay? White plays a3, and there's not really that much counterplay. The king can just march up the board here, it seems. You know, if black tried check, well, there's also, you know, maybe just here, you know, just go here. So actually, black tried h4 to get his pass pawn going. Okay. e6 after rook e1, king d4. So now there is a idea of maybe just, you know, e7 and bishop f4, for example. After king f8, bishop f2 actually. Okay, he's trying for that pawn. Black took on e6. Now king d5, leaving two pieces attacked. Check. And now king c5. Actually, black resigned here. Okay, so what's going on here? If the rook like moves, say here, I think just king b6 is going to be all over. Just dragging this pawn is going to be winning a piece. Or even bishop. You know, if bishop c5 might be very dangerous as well. In this position. So anyway, black resigned here. So this against Max Euwe in 1938. Let's have a look at that again. So more hyper-modern style opening. Squeezing on both sides of the board and breaking through tactically as well. Winning a pawn. And there wasn't too much counterplay to deal with after winning that pawn. Okay, so he got rid of the counterplay. If black had dared to take on f4, then you know that'll be the end of that blockade. But this was seemingly, this is not a tenable position here. Okay, let's look at another game now. Another world champion. One we've been very fond of on this channel. This world champion. Oh, sorry, not yet. Sorry, speaking of someone else. Mikhail Botvinnik, though, father of the Soviet chess school. Okay. Students included, you know, Kasparov, Kramnik, Shirov. Okay, so Mikhail Botvinnik is black. So Paul Keres kicked off with e4. Hi Chess Explain. I see Chess Explain, who's by the way an international master now confirmed, and I might promote any comments he makes. So this was in this game was in 1948 actually. So 1948, Paul Keres white against Mikhail Botvinnik. It's a match tournament, February 22nd. Okay, so a French defender, Winnower. And we have the finger slip variation, which I thought was really, really amusing. I even tried this in my own blitz. Bishop d2. Okay, bishop d2, the finger slip variation. I just thought this was an incredibly amazing idea. Fitting a crude kind of style. Maybe good for blitz chess. Because what happens here? Well, after d takes e4, white plays queen g4. and is preparing immediately to castle queenside. And this is kind of fairly outrageous behaviour, isn't it? This queen g4. And offering d4 as well, which actually would protect that. But if castles, then you've got, you know, ideas of you know, getting to d8. Black actually played knight f6 after queen g7, rook j8, queen h6. Okay. After knight c6 we get castling queenside. So black seems to have an active position though, but white has you know, weakened these squares with this g pawn not being there. Bishop takes, forcing sequence. Queen d5. Okay, is on a2. b3. After knight e7, is this queen going to be harassed as well? f3 gives the queen escape route back if needed. Bishop d7. Bishop b2, which makes way for c4. And maybe d5 later. Okay. Bishop c6. And now c4. So he's gaining a bit of space again. So queen f5. And now d5. What is this d5 doing? Okay, he's extending the bishop. But surely black can take. Can black not take? It does, indeed. And now f takes e4. And in this position, black plays d takes e4. And now knight h3, as though maybe, you know, knight... Is knight f4 going to be a problem? You know, maybe rook g4, maybe queen f6. Okay, what we see is knight g4 here anyway. And queen g3 actually attacks c7. Mikhail just plays queen c5 here. This looks like a dangerous check here. But it's allowed. Queen takes c7. Then we see rook c8. Is black getting some counterplay? Actually, he goes for check. White doesn't take that. White plays rook d2. Queens come off. Alright, so let's take stock here. Pawn situation. Equal on pawns. The bishops. This looks good. Across the diagonal. This looks hemmed in. This looks like a dangerous passed pawn. It's pushed. e3, rook c2. Okay. Rook g5 is played. Bishop e2. The knight's holding up g2 anyway, across that diagonal. Knight f2, rook e1. And now it looks as though, you know, there's tactics going on here. Rook d8. So he didn't want to take g2 and it's moved anyway. That's protected now. Rook f5. Bishop f1. So is this loose? Botvinnik starts panicking now. He has to do something quite radical. What does he do about e3 here? I think he's in trouble. He sacrifices the exchange and plays check. He's the exchange down for not much, isn't he? He's just the exchange down for not much. That pass pawn doesn't mean too much, especially after this next move, bishop d2, winning it. So he wins. So he's just the exchange up, basically. So something happened there. Black really cracked up. Check. h3 restricting the knight, and black and Mikhail Botvinnik resigned here. That's a really quite complicated game. Let's just go back into that and ask some questions. So the finger slip variation, okay. So black seems to have loads of pressure with the pieces, but white had that nice bishop on the diagonal. He sacks a pawn here to liberate his bishop. So in this position, white is a pawn down. For what exactly? Black can't castle on the queen side at the moment. Okay, and it just seems like a tricky position. He's tied down to this f6, maybe, and you know, maybe white just plays bishop e2 and rook f1 and targets f6. He's got a focal point of f6 here. Okay. Queen g3 though in this position. Bishop e2 here looks like a move, but maybe something embarrassing about this. I'm not entirely sure, but he goes for queen g3 on that c7 pawn, and okay, it's equal on pawns now after nicking that pawn. Okay, and here we're coming up to the e3 pawn being very weak. Okay, and okay, white just wins this quite easily. Okay, the exchange up. So actually, Mikhail resigned here. Okay, let's look at another game. It's quite complicated, these games. We're just doing a brief overview. So this next game against Smyslov in 1939, we see d4 being played. So he plays both e4 and d4. Okay, and we see Nimzo Indian, or do we? No, black plays d5. Bishop g5, bishop e7, queen's gambit declined. Knight f3, Tartakower, bishop b6, Tartakower. Okay. White takes on d5. This looks like a familiar game, like a Fischer-Spassky game, 1972 a bit. But no, bishop d3 is played here. Queen c2. It looks much simpler. White castles. Bishop f4. So, okay. a6 and then rook fd1. White's pieces all look very nice. Black tries now knight e8. White puts more pressure on that c file. Now bishop d6. Knight e2. Queen e7. White takes on d6 and plays knight g3. Okay, so knight f5 could be quite painful for black. g6, stopping knight f5. White has a nice attacking position here. Actually, he doesn't need to. He can focus on the king side here, and he plays actually h4. It seems quite logical in this position to play h4, just to try and damage black's king safety a bit. Black plays h5, and now we get a very nice knight g5. Very annoying. c5 is played, and now an incredible move is played here, actually. Quite, I don't know, looking quite profound, to basically indirectly put more pressure on the king eventually. I wonder if anyone can spot it if I give you 20 seconds starting from now, this next move. It's quite amazing, actually. It's quite an amazing idea to get a really dangerous pin in another move. So if I give you 20 seconds starting from now, can anyone guess it? No one's going to guess this, are they, without cheating? Looking at the game score. No, no one's going to guess it. It's not really a violent looking move. It doesn't capture anything. Nope, nothing. Ah, someone's mentioned it. Okay. Okay. Bishop f5. It's immediately threatening to win a pawn with bishop takes and then d takes. And it's also threatening potentially bishop e6. And if you know, you can imagine takes and then queen takes g6 being very dangerous. Okay, black, you know, if he took knight takes f5 maybe, or queen f5. Knight f5, it looks dangerous. I'm not entirely sure this is the right. Maybe check here and then mating on h7. So black didn't take it anyway. He played c takes d4, and then we get this bishop e6. It's just threatening queen g6 now. Oh, okay. So black tries d3. It looks like a good move because it now springs in knight e5 to defend g6. Queen goes back. And why can't black just win a piece here? This is getting complicated. Black wins the piece, and then we see f4. Alright, there's pressure on black. His pawns have been a bit disrupted here. Can't move that knight. He tries king g7. Okay, and there's another little subtlety in this position. Yeah, this is quite tell-like. I'm sort of more awake now with this game. I don't know about everyone else, but it sort of wakes me up, this sort of game, because I'm thinking, really? Those possibilities exist? There's a disconnected set of rooks here from this knight. Is that an issue? It's going to be an issue. White plays f takes e5, and now he challenges the rook. He challenges that rook. And we've got all sorts of things going on here, haven't we? It seems this is a poxy move, breaking one of the comments on YouTube a GM was making about not capturing, because if capture, you're just developing the white rook here and you're threatening rook f7. But I'm just wondering why black did this. If black plays knight f6, you can imagine this sort of position. Rook takes f6. If queen takes, we've got knight takes h5. And what about rook takes? What do we have here? Do we have knight takes again, or something else? Maybe this is not right. Maybe there's something else after the knight f6. Maybe just check. No, we've got the queen. We've got the queen on that. So in this position, I don't know. In this position, does anyone know why black played rook takes f1? Why not knight f6? Anyone? Knight f6. Is it really rook takes f6? I think I think actually, sorry, I might be right about this, because if we take here, right, let's follow this. Check. Actually, we can play rook c7 now, protecting. No. Hang on, there's queen e3. There's queen e3. Queen e3? What do you do here? Before. Oh, I see. This get the queen here. Oh, I see. Yes. So if takes, you play check, you win the queen at the very least. And if you don't take, it's horrible, isn't it? Anything? Knight h7. Knight h7 will do. So hang on. So what on earth happened here? Look, we had this quiet position, and black's getting smashed from this move. Look what he's done. Bishop f5. Would anyone consider bishop f5 as a move here? Amazing. So okay, so we get this position where, sorry, we've said knight f6. Before that, rook c7 before rook f6. Rook c7 here. Just explain. Nah. No. You play rook f6 here, yeah? That looks good enough anyway. So let's go on to the game continuation. So in the game, after rook f1, okay, maybe this explains rook takes f1. Okay, so Smyslov played rook takes f1. Rook takes f1. Knight d6, trying to defend that f7. And now knight takes h5 check. This is really crushing stuff. So okay, he can't take, you know, because of the queen h7. So king h6, and then we see knight f6. So he's threatening actually to fork here. Check, king h1. He's still threatening to fork. Queen d4. And then we see knight takes e6. These knights, look at these knights. All the squares they've got. Fantastic. And there's queen c1 on the cards. He gives up h4, it doesn't matter, king g1. The knight is holding d4 here. Black plays d4, we see the check. g5, and now queen c7. Coming in for the kill. End of game. Okay, sorry, this rook c7 business, sorry, did we miss a variation of rook c7? Do we really want to go into that? How we missed a variation of rook c7? Sorry, knight f6. Does someone, Chess Explain, do you want to say after knight f6? I've said rook takes f6. Are you saying rook takes f6 is not needed here? Do we not start with rook takes f6 in this position? No? Sorry, is he still there? Sorry. Alright, should we just go on to the next game? Has everyone had enough of this position? Oh, sorry, rook c7. Sorry, I get it now. I'm sorry for being thick. Queen takes, there's knight takes e6. I get it. Sorry. I get it. Rook c7 is possible here as well. Brilliant. Sorry. Okay, Muppet. Rook c7 is possible there as well. It's not even needed for rook f6. And you just crash through queen takes g6. Pardon me. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad we went over that. So next game. So against Mikhail Tal. Okay, this is 1954 Tallinn. This is Estonia-Latvia team event. So probably maybe in the Olympiad, I guess. 1954 Olympiad. Mikhail Tal playing white. We're going to flip the board. Paul Keres playing black. D4. Okay. And Paul Keres goes in for a King's Engine defense. After knight f3, we have the sort of main line here. Now bishop e3, really annoying move, bishop e3. Knight c6 is played. Now h3, knight d7, and black gets on with the king side gaining space, even though white hasn't castled yet. Okay. Here is interesting, because there might be a temptation to sort of play f4, but white hasn't castled yet. So if this, you know, maybe you castle here, and then you sort of play on the queen side. No, what he does here is very interesting. He takes on e4. Okay. White takes on e4, and it looks like okay, knight f5. He gets counterplay. Now, if white take on here, is there a problem with f takes e4? Not really sure. Is there any problem with f takes e4 if I give you 20 seconds to have a look at this? Anyone? Okay, maybe there's no problem with it. Okay, if no one found a problem, let's just carry on. Knight d takes e4, knight f5, bishop g5, knight f6. So has white got a good bind on the position? Queen e8. Okay. It looks as though white's got a pleasant position anyway, so maybe Mikhail didn't mind this. So knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, and now bishop f6. Okay, but white is weak on the dark squares, you know, having played both these pawn moves, slight weaknesses on the dark squares. So black is trying to get rid of the dark square bishop. And Mikhail takes actually on f6, queen d2. And now c5, getting you know, ready for maybe a knight d4. So he doesn't want that knight reinforced. He takes on c6, and he kicks the knight, or tries to, and it goes back to e7. And now he actually castles kingside. Okay, but black now has the possibility of generating some interesting counterplay. He plays bishop a6 on that loose pawn. White reinforces it, and now he strikes with d5 in the centre. The year of this game is 1954. It's Mikhail Tal against Paul Kaz. So d5 here. What is this doing? I think it's going to leave white in a very awkward state. If white dares to take here, he's getting loose pieces everywhere, isn't he? Or not. He's on this rook. Maybe not. Maybe there's another idea, like rook here, just to get that pin. So he didn't want to do that. He plays queen g5. We saw queen f7, supporting d5, bishop d3, and now d takes c4. Bishop takes c4. And now after the rook f8, look at this. This is nice pressure. But he's giving up e5. Queen takes e5. Actually, he can't play this. Maybe because, you know, takes. There's queen takes e7, and the knight's defending g3. So he's just sacked a pawn here. for rook e6 actually. But the queen can go here surely to protect this knight. It goes there. So this is a sort of gambit now. What is this? What, he just plays rook e3 and he's on now c4. Okay, he's on c4. There's a lot of pressure on white in this position. Knight g3. If white tries to defend c4, then what? I guess this is quite dangerous. Rook, something like rook d8 for rook d2 might be dangerous. Okay, there might be something even better here. Okay, so in the game, okay, knight g3, just giving up that c4 pawn. Oh, sorry, taking on on f3. Pardon me. Just take on f3 here. Sorry, Muppets. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, rook takes f3. That looks really quite crushing. So he gives up c4, knight e4, queen d4. So white's position is a bit of a wreck now, isn't it? Look at these dark square weaknesses. Rook ad1 is played. Check. Knight f2. Now rook f takes f3. So he's nicked a pawn. He's a pawn up. Check. King g7. Queen c7. Queen e3 defending the knight. And now, curiously, black gets the king safer with king h6 away from the pin. Queen b1, rook d2, and this looks horrible, this stuff coming to white. Knight d5, not minding exchange of queens. Check. Okay, little trap or something. King h5 is played. Let's just go with king h5. Queen b7, check. Rook takes f2. And Mikhail's going to run out of checks, it seems. King f6, and he's running out of checks rapidly, and actually he resigns here. So that was an interesting game. Okay, what? So King's Indian, some sort of thing odd about this game. This f takes e4. So white played knight d takes e4. I think it's been mentioned actually by Chess Explain, if here, then maybe here, then you play this and then you play this to exchange off this. Just weaken these dark squares. That might be an idea. So in the game, it looks as though black got a lot of counterplay on the dark squares. In any case, this was kind of nifty for trying to get this pin going against the queen. C4 was a bit weak, F3 was a bit weak, so these guys are a bit weak here, and this is very dangerous now. So on C4 and on F3, and gets a pawn up, and okay, I'm going to ask a silly question. If king takes g5, was that losing? Did that lose to something? King takes g5. Yes, just taking. It was a little trap. Check. So he had to play king h5, I think. So we saw this danger point. check, and he just took and he accepted this. Fine. Okay. Yeah. Should we carry on? Should we try and carry on? Or carry on next week? It's been about an hour. How does everyone feel? Do you want to go? I think we've lost the audience on the Play Chess server anyway. Sorry. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this week. Let's carry on next week. Okay. Thanks very much. I'll upload this to YouTube. There's very complex games. We've just done a quick overview of them. Okay, until next week. Okay, thanks very much.